Hello and welcome to Solutionaries, one of our media shows that we produce through the Earthstock Foundation. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino. I hope you're all having a amazing spring. We just got through an incredible full moon and spring equinox, and we have a lot more big energetic events coming up, including the May 14th full moon, the full flowering moon, a lunar eclipse. I mean, there's so many things happening. The world is feeling very optimistic and things are opening up. So glad to be here, continuing to bring conscious content to all of you. As you know, Solutionaries is a show where we don't just talk, but we actually introduce people and we give them a platform to talk about the amazing work and solutions that they are implementing in a broken old paradigm as we transition to a whole new way of being. And sometimes a new way of being is actually an ancient way of being. So we heavily embrace traditional knowledge and the wisdom of many different indigenous cultures, but we also work a lot around environment, health, ecology, and green energy. So I'm really happy today to have time to not only have an interview with her, but also to announce that we're going to be offering a series of classes that she'll be presenting in May. But I'm really happy and honored to have our next guest on the show, Marza Millar. So welcome, Marza.
Hi, nice
And
to see you as always.
good to see you. And I really appreciate our evolving and developing friendship. And just to give people a little idea about yourself, that Marza Millar, also known as Grandmother Two Clouds, is a spokesperson for the children of the future with messages from her ancestors from the past. So I didn't know you were also a poet. That's a great line. And Marza holds the wisdom of her father's medicine ways, teachings from his ancestors, and also from her Druid ancestors. She is a teacher, mother, grandmother, alchemist, time traveler, world travel, temple guardian, time doorkeeper, and currently, where I know her from in Nevada City, or what I call Nirvana City, she works as an herbal alchemist, mystic, medicine woman, wisdom keeper, and ceremonialist. She also owns the Ancient Earth Apothecary, the School of Energy Medicine, and the Church of Essence. She is a lifelong student of alchemy and metaphysics, travels extensively teaching all over the world, and she is currently located again in Nevada City, California. So welcome. It's really an honor and pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And definitely appreciate your time. I will say, as a fellow world traveler, I'm mystified because one day I'll talk to you and you're at Stonehenge, and the next day I'll talk to you, you're in Hawaii, and then you're down in your ancestral areas of Sedona, and then another day you're on the East Coast. So yeah, you're doing a lot of movement. And I think in the time we have today, obviously you come from a long lineage and a tradition. But how does that play into, and I know we're going to talk about some workshops that you're going to be offering, but how do you find all these things are coming together for you now in such a transformational time on the planet? I mean, obviously you're doing important work, but there seems to be a heightened sense of urgency right now that humanity is standing at this crossroads of self-preservation. Or
exactly. I totally agree, Michael. I'm a retired RN, spent my time in allopathic medicine. I was raised in medicine ways since birth through both my parents, in the native ways, indigenous ways, and also in the Druid ways and Celtic ways. And my father grew up in Sedona, Arizona at the turn of the century. And he was starting to be trained when he was 6, and that was in 1916. And they belonged to one of the mystery schools, actually started by Arlene and Robert Cheney in 1951, called Astara. And so I was raised in a multitude of things, and I went into more herbal medicine when I saw the failing of the allopathic system that I was so plugged into as a nurse and as things. So that got me into doing vibrational medicine, energy medicine, and working within those constructs. And that has taken me all over the world, teaching at Damanhur, teaching with the Siberian Yupiks up in Alaska for many years, working with the Inca, who we're hosting next month in Mount Shasta. I've worked with them for 12 years. The Hopi elders, we do a lot of work. We just finished a bunch of work together in Sedona. And working with these indigenous leaders that come through my home and stay with me a lot, and plus the different places that I interact with them, is the prophecies and understanding. I've been studying prophecy, starting with biblical prophecy when I was 17, and then a lot of the native indigenous prophecies, such as the Hawaiians. I spent 20 years in study at Hikiau with the Kahuna Nui of the Puhuanua Ahona now on Big Island, and understanding the temple medicine. And in 1997, the Hopi elders brought what they called their wutiyas, their birthing stones, as the Hawaiians say, to Hikiau Heiau, to herald in this time of great change. My father was also very well aware of it, and working with the Yavapai tribe when he was a little guy back in the Sedona in the Verde Valley area. And recently I've circled back with that council and with that reservation, and working with a young woman in kind of giving her some medicine ways that were lost with the elders that have all passed away, that was passed to my dad and then passed to me. So it's kind of convoluted, but to understand all of it is that we've come to a place in time. And my father was involved in what's called the emergent store of an area where they came up after the third world floods, is where the indigenous people came up and populated the Southwest and actually did the world migrations, which you're very knowledgeable of, and your connections to Hopi, as well as that in the ancient people of the Singakwa Valley and Verde Valley, that whole area. So with that, I completed my training with my uncle in 1979 with the understanding of how to work with these portals and things that were passed down by my family. And in 1997, after doing that ceremony with the Hopis and the Hawaiians at the temple there on Big Island, it was very apparent to me that the indigenous people were very, very involved in the times that were coming. In 2010, literally, the Inca came to my front door, literally. And that was through other connections, but they were coming forward, and this here in Nevada City, they were coming forward because they are also having that urgency. Spending time, a lot of time, 7 years up in St. Lawrence Island and up into the Arctic Circle, working with a lot of the Inuit in Siberia. They have their prophecies, and it's called Two Winters. The Hawaiians have their prophecies. The Hopis have their prophecies. We have the Mahabharata, those prophecies of the Hindu people. Then we go to more indigenous communities, and they're all pointing, they're all pointing to this time of now. They're all pointing to this place that we're sitting that is extremely important. And, I never thought I'd be alive during this time, ever. I always thought that I would be, maybe on my own journey at that point through the veil, but it's happened much more quickly. Things started aligning back in 1997 as a warning 2012 was one of the first gateways that we went through. And then there's a thing called the 2020 prophecies that into this next decade, that we're in the time of the shaking from 2020 to 2025. We are in the time of the shaking or the winnowing. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that we're having, factions that they're splintering. And we're seeing that splinter all over the world. And the other thing that's so important is as we entered the 2020 gates, we not only had COVID, but we also had on January 3rd of 2020, when the US did aggression with Iran by killing their military leader. Of course, January 6th, we had the overtaking of the Capitol, and now we're into 2022. We have the Ukraine and Russian war. So
Right. And also, as you know, a crescendoing of solar flare activity. We have solar
Right.
dimming. If we look back just over a decade ago, the white buffalo prophecy, a whole series of white buffaloes being born, all of these things that are happening right now, like you said, and this is really when I love talking about you, because, this is amazing information, but more than just information, these are actually prophecies and road signs to inspire and awaken humanity now. And now we're all talking about the quantum moment, quantum consciousness, quantum reality. Right now, we create the future. So I know a lot of people have become very apathetic or very depressed about what's happening in the world. And I love talking with you because, I mean, you're out there doing it. We're out there doing it. We're trying to inspire people to co-create a positive future and don't buy into all the negativity, the propaganda, and the toxic broken timeline that's kind of being pushed through corporate media, the whole doomsday scenario, which is interesting because someone the other day said they called me an apocalyptimist. They're like, it's the apocalypse, but you're so optimistic.
That's a
And
good one.
it's like, that's because I see a brighter future, but we all have to join together and collaborate to make it the future that we want for ourselves and our children and 7 generations to come. So again, I want to applaud you and also just add to that so many of these things are happening, that now is the time. We are the ones, and we have to create the world and co-create the world that we want to see in the future for us.
Well, it's interesting because we have one rising and one falling, and they're happening simultaneously. And so there is hard to find solid ground, truly, where our feet are fitting, because you get comfortable in one moment and it becomes uncomfortable the next moment. But that's going to happen for a while. And if we follow the prophecies, right now we're living what looks like, because you also look at the Pluto Uranus transits, and you look at all the way through from, all the years of the wars and the new inventions and the wars and the new inventions. They all happen simultaneously during these really unique transits. But it's not just the transits I'm going on. I also read cycles and signs and patterns and look for those markers within history and the repeating of those markers. And right now, I would say that we're living actually in 1939. We're still headed for more economic unrest. We're and there's a possibility of World War III if this escalates anymore. However, we have to shake until we're done shaking to come together. And meantime, we can do the foundational work to bring that rise into a faster manifestation on this earth plane. It's all that knowledge is already in the Akashic records of the earth. And it's also sitting with the indigenous cultures that have been around for thousands of years, and it permeates. We also have these sacred sites that we have the ability to bring some of these back online. I've been working a lot in Egypt and the temples of Egypt, and working with people with different energies that they're doing different things that are able to work within some of the portals and constructs of the multiverse. So with that said, it sounds a little bit woo. I guess we'll just call
Well,
it.
well, I mean, look, even if we look in mainstream media, like the Marvel films and the film Endgame,
Right.
where we're snapping half of existence, half of humanity out of existence. I mean, all these things, it's like, no matter where we look, the stories might be subtly different, but the mythology is there, the
It's
media,
all
the
there.
film, everything right now is pointing to this incredible crossroads between, and again, I know in the Hopi tradition, they say, are you a one heart or you a two heart? Are you a one heart who's walking in a good way, aligned with your spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional bodies towards a greater truth? Or is it like, well, I'd like to do that, but I'm kind of over here too busy making money, and then I got to go over here and do this, and I have to, and that people are really becoming almost like spiritually schizophrenic because they're so split between all these different priorities. And like the Hopi say, we have to become a one heart. We have to bring all of our fractured and fractal pieces of ourselves together to actually be a whole human being,
Correct.
to actually be aware enough to walk in indigenous tradition, the red road, or to walk a spiritual path, to be able to walk through these times of this koyaanisqatsi, of the world out of balance and these earth changes.
Exactly. It's also to understand that we live in liquid time and we live in a liquid universe, meaning that everything is vibrating. And we've got different vibrations going on, not only the ley lines of the earth, the dragon lines of the earth Schumann resonance, which is actually the photonic light coming into the earth and how it resonates back. And it's not just on earth, it's also in our solar system, and how our solar system is moving through the Milky Way through that 26,000 year cycle. And what's interesting, we alive on planet Earth in 2012 took in an actual transmission from the great central sun that happens every 26,000 years. The great central sun is the black hole that actually made the Milky Way. That transmission goes into our solar sun or our star and the other stars around us. And that transmission comes directly into us from our sun. And understanding that people, as our vibration rises with that knowledge and those transmissions, and also the indigenous elders rising to give ceremony to enhance our vibration, to be able to rise above the chaos so that we can be more directed, and also, directing. All of my elders pretty much have passed. I've been in training most of my life, almost all my life, in medicine ways. And one thing I find interesting is that, I never expected to be the elder of this time. I never expected it. And I don't know if I'll ever be an elder. I don't know if that's even a title that I'm worthy of. You know what I mean? But everyone that ever came to me that taught me what they taught have now passed, except for two. And it's hard looking, because I was looked to somebody else, and now I have to look at me and what they deposited within me to give away. And I've been teaching medicine circles here in Nevada City, and vision quests, and drum circles, and shamanic journey work, and shamanic medicine, and vibrational medicine, energy medicine, herbalism. I've been teaching that for, involved in it for 40 years. And yet now I'm finding there's a new medicine rising. And that is what I'm calling and working with, what I call the warriors of light. Because a lot of the prophecies say what is above shall come below, and what is below, sorry about that, what is below shall come above. And so we're having this rise and fall at the same time, but we're also working with interdimensional energies and frequencies that are coming in. And there's a lot of, if you go back to the actually ancient biblical text, and then you put that into the like Revelation in the biblical context, then you go to a lot of the pyramid text, the ancient pyramid text. And I've been doing a lot of study over the last few years. It won, actually in Egypt itself, at the Egyptian Museum in San Jose, that has an ancient library with ancient books, then also doing study and overlaying all of these things and realizing that these energies rising and falling, that they're a frequency of light, and how we move through the gradient of life or vibration, and how do we take that on to deflect those things, that dense energy that's trying to sit on us, as well as the dense energy that is been propagated by everything. And there's a way of standing as spiritual warriors, and that has been really my get of getting that information out there as it's been coming to me. I mean, it caused me to sell my house of 15 years in downtown Nevada City, take what equity I had and put it into these teachings and a lot of this, and had to relocate into a different situation. So I had more liquidity, knowing that we're having, it seems like, who knew about COVID? But, we all had financial setbacks with COVID, and then moving forward and everything that is causing, we're headed into another depression. We're headed into the highest inflation. And if you look at these repeating patterns, they're here. So people need to get solvent with their gold, with their silver, not put their money in paper. And there's things we need to do in our lives to move forward. And that's what this class is about, is how to prepare yourself, not only spiritually, but emotionally, mentally, and physically for what we're facing and what is coming in the next waves ahead of us.
Absolutely. And we're excited because the Warriors of Light Walking in These Times of Prophecy workshop, I know we're going to be starting in just a couple weeks. That's going to begin on Wednesday, May 4th. And we're looking at doing it as a 5-week class. I know one of the classes we're going to be showing some other related media and video and stuff. I think we're going to show Koyanis Katsi. But we're going to be having the blessing of having time with you on Wednesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific time, where we can listen to you share some of your amazing wealth of knowledge and tradition and teachings, and also maybe at the end have a little time of some Q&A, because again, I know that a lot of people are being activated. And you said we're heading into another depression, but we're also heading into another dimension.
We are.
And
For
all
sure.
of us are really co-creating that. So kind of like sharing that fire of what I call galactivation with each other, and hearing these words and getting the affirmations. I know for myself, I'm the same way, being in Nevada City, focusing on, moving out of the hub and becoming more fluid, because a lot of what I'm doing right now is helping to set up what I call these arcs, which are these academies for regenerative culture. And you can kind of picture the Ark of the Covenant like these golden arcs, which is kind of an energetic, symbolic thing of the Ark of the Covenant and going out into the desert. But we're looking at networking existing land bases together with establishing a 40-acre center in Crestone, Colorado, which is an amazing place of accelerated activation. It's known as the Bloodless Valley and has been a place of sacred pilgrimage for many years, and connecting with people in Boulder and Sedona and Taos and Santa Fe. So it's exciting to be out there, but also, since I've been out there for 8 months, coming back to California, and now this weekend is Earth Day, being asked to do Earth Day of all places in Los Angeles, being here in Santa Cruz right now, and then also meeting people in Nevada City where I live that are doing the work and are creating these foundational places, and then spending Easter in Mount Shasta. So like you were saying, all these places of this matrix, whether it's here on Turtle Island in North America, or in Egypt, or Peru, that all of these sacred places, all of these dragon lines and ley lines are being activated and coming back online. So it's a very dynamic, exciting, activating time, and really looking forward to this upcoming workshop with you, because this is really some of the most pertinent. And I just want to say, in doing this, we're not trying to add more information to this whole, I call it the information saturation generation. I mean, there's so much out there, but I think what's really happening is we're going to cut to the chase and really get down to the reality of what's happening, and hopefully inspire and get people activated so they can become even a more conscious
Exactly.
part of this transformational time.
That's why I'm offering this work. And like I said, I have a beautiful medicine wheel. I was out there yesterday and working. It's on 160 acres in Nevada City, and Deer Creek runs through the middle of the property. And the thing is, I was out there working with the elementals and really getting some downloads, and really understanding how do we break something without totally breaking ourselves, and how do we prepare ourselves for something that is breaking so that we're prepared as it rises at the same time. That's the trick. And so it's something and it's the regenesis, of revisioning ourselves and really our connection to creator. I mean, nothing is more powerful than prayer, at least in my life. And I find going to spirit, there's been plenty of messages left from us, from the people and the visionaries from thousands of years ago, is written on the rock walls, the acoustics in the ancient temples, and how the earthworks of the advanced civilization that was destroyed 12,600 years ago. There's still signs and everything, and bringing that all into, we need to have that ancient future to rise,
Well,
and
it's
that's what I'm working on.
it's interesting because I just saw an article about where they found a 35,000-year-old city off of southern India, which they, is
Oh
traditionally
yeah.
the location of Lemuria. And so right there, just that one event alone is already rewriting the history books of like, well, we've been here for 20,000 years and we came across the Bering Land Strait and we were like, no, there's like very ancient evolved civilizations that were actually related to the Tamil, but also in, I think it's called Tepeyeke in South America, the huge stone temples they've been finding, and the
Yeah.
amount of craftsmanship and engineering. So again, the stories are being revealed, the prophecies are coming out, the truth is being told, and it's just a really exciting and dynamic time to be here on the
Mhm.
planet, to be a bridge between the old and the new. And you hit the nail right on the head. It really is an ancient future. We don't have to recreate things. There's a
No.
infinite amount of traditional indigenous knowledge out there in the world. And what we have to do is adapt and innovate that in a way that is practical and work in this modern time to actually help us even have a future. So I know you have folks showing up in a few minutes. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I do want to really encourage people to watch your Warriors of Light workshop. We'll be starting it for 5 Wednesdays, starting the first Wednesday of May. Really excited to have this discourse with you today and to help kind of promote that. And
Thanks,
it's
Michael.
gonna be incredible. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's so timely. So many blessings to you, and any
Okay.
last few words of inspiration or wisdom you can leave us with before we wrap.
I just want people to know is put on your seatbelts, buckle up, because we're going, we're already going for a ride, but it's going to speed up. So, and to know that we're in the time of the shaking. So if things feel a little odd or doing that, just stay in your faith, stay with spirit, stay in your prayers, stay in your ceremonies, and just plan ahead and just be part of the evolution, because that's where we are. The evolution is the revolution.
Absolutely. And unless you're becoming a breatharian, know where your food and water comes from. And,
Exactly.
and like the Hopi say, it's a time to look around and find connection in other people's eyes and to lash our canoes together as we all go towards this great waterfall of transformation. So
Exactly.
much love and appreciation, Marza, Millar, and thank you for your time. Honored anytime we get to share space together and to add to the global coherent field, because this is some of the most important subject matter that we can really be focused on right now. And there's a lot of distractions in the world, so it's time to not be distracted and keep our kind of eye on what's really happening and be part of the change.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Michael, and be well, and everyone that hears this message, just be well.
Fantastic. All right, we'll be talking in just a few weeks. I know every day
Okay.
is Earth Day, but have a great Earth Day weekend, and
You
blessings
too.
and safe travels.
Okay. Bye-bye.